power of no contact. No contact is one of the most powerful tools you can use after a breakup, and it works in ways most people don't initially expect. When a relationship ends, emotions are high, and instinctively, many women feel the urge to reach out, whether to seek closure, beg for another chance, or simply remind their ex of their presence. However, the moment you stop all communication and completely remove yourself from his life, you trigger a powerful shift in the dynamic between you and him. Many people underestimate the effectiveness of no contact because, in the beginning, it doesn't seem to yield immediate results. The truth is, men process breakups differently than women. While women tend to grieve, overthink, and go through all their emotions early on, men often do the opposite. They may feel relieved at first, excited about their newfound freedom, or even distracted by other things. But no contact changes everything. Why no contact is so effective? It shifts the power dynamic. When a woman reaches out after a breakup, she unknowingly gives away her power. She communicates to the man that he is still the one in control, that he has the ability to dictate whether the relationship continues or ends. But when she goes no contact, she removes that control from his hands. Suddenly, he doesn't have the assurance that she will always be there, waiting for him. This absence creates uncertainty in his mind, and uncertainty leads to curiosity. It triggers the psychological loss response. Psychologically, people value things more when they believe they have lost them. Think about it. When you have unlimited access to something, you take it for granted. But the moment it is taken away, you start to want it more. This is a natural human tendency, and it plays a crucial role in why men start to rethink their decisions after a period of no contact. When a woman remains silent after a breakup, the man begins to feel the weight of her absence. At first, he may feel indifferent, thinking she will eventually text or call. But as days and weeks pass without a word from her, he starts to feel the loss. The longer she stays silent, the stronger this feeling grows. It forces him to reflect on the relationship. Men are not always in tune with their emotions in the same way women are. While women often analyze every aspect of a breakup, men tend to push their emotions aside, distracting themselves with work, hobbies, or even other people. However, no contact removes all distractions related to you. Without texts, calls, or social media interactions from you, he is left alone with his thoughts. This is when he starts replaying moments from the relationship, questioning his decisions, and wondering if he made the right choice in letting you go. He may recall the way you supported him, the laughter you shared, and the love you gave freely. Without your presence, he begins to miss those things, even if he initially thought he wouldn't. It creates mystery and intrigue. One of the most powerful aspects of no contact is the element of mystery. When a man expects a woman to chase after him and she doesn't, it confuses him. He starts to wonder, why isn't she reaching out? Has she already moved on? Is she happier without me? The moment you disappear, you become intriguing. He begins to check your social media, ask mutual friends about you, and wonder if he still has a place in your life. The fear that you might be moving on without him can be a powerful motivator for a man to reach out. It demonstrates self-respect and confidence. Nothing is more attractive than a woman who values herself enough to walk away from someone who does not appreciate her. No contact sends a clear message. I am not waiting around for you. If you do not see my worth, I will not force you to. When a woman is willing to step back and prioritize her own healing, it signals strength. Men are naturally drawn to confidence, and when a woman shows that she is secure enough to let go, it makes her even more desirable. It allows you to heal and gain clarity. One of the biggest misconceptions about no contact is that it's only about making a man miss you. While that may be a side effect, the true purpose of no contact is to give you space to heal, reflect, and decide whether you truly want him back. During no contact, you have the opportunity to focus on yourself. You can rediscover your passions, spend time with loved ones, and regain the sense of independence that may have been lost in the relationship. Instead of obsessing over him, you shift your focus inward, working on your own personal growth and happiness. Many women who commit to no contact eventually realize that they don't want their ex back at all. With time and space, they see the flaws in the relationship more clearly and recognize that they deserve better. What happens when you go no contact? At first, he may not react at all. He might assume you're just playing hard to get, or waiting for him to reach out first. As time passes, he starts to notice your absence. The texts and calls he expected don't come, and he begins to wonder why. He checks your social media or asks about you. If he sees you living your life happily without him, his curiosity turns into regret. He starts missing the little things, the good morning texts, the support, the laughter, everything he once took for granted. He reaches out. Whether it's a casual text, a social media interaction, or a direct phone call, he tests the waters to see if he still has access to you. How to stay strong in no contact. Resist the urge to reach out first. Even if you miss him, remember that breaking no contact puts the power back in his hands. Stay busy. Focus on your own growth, happiness, and well-being. The more you invest in yourself, the less tempted you'll be to break no contact. Don't stalk his social media. Watching his every move will only make no contact harder for you. Instead, shift your focus to your own journey. Believe in your worth. No contact is not about playing games. It's about valuing yourself enough to step back and see if he truly deserves you. Conclusion: the power of no contact lies in its ability to shift the dynamic between you and your ex. It makes him realize what he lost, forces him to confront his emotions, and creates a sense of mystery that draws him back in. But more importantly, no contact gives you the space to heal, grow, and rediscover your own worth. By committing to no contact, you take back your power. And when he returns, it will be on your terms, not because you begged for his attention, but because he realized that losing you was his biggest men process. Breakups differently than women, often in ways that might seem contradictory at first. While a woman typically experiences an emotional surge immediately after a breakup, crying, overanalyzing, and deeply feeling the loss, a man may not react in the same way right away. This is because many men compartmentalize their emotions and push aside their feelings as a coping mechanism. However, this does not mean they don't feel the impact of the breakup. In fact, the effects of no contact often hit men later, and when they do, they can be overwhelming. In the initial stage after a breakup, a man may feel a sense of relief. He may convince himself that he made the right decision, or that being single will bring him newfound freedom. He might go out more, distract himself with work, friends, hobbies, or even other women. On the surface, it may look like he has moved on quickly, but in reality, he is simply delaying the emotional processing. This is why, in many cases, a man does not begin to truly miss a woman until she has completely removed herself from his life. The absence of contact from you is what eventually forces him to confront the reality of his decision. When he no longer has access to your daily presence, your texts, your affection, or your energy, he begins to experience a void. He may not recognize it immediately, but over time that void becomes more apparent. What was once an easy escape from a relationship suddenly turns into loneliness, and he starts questioning whether breaking up was really the best choice. One of the strongest psychological triggers that occur during this period is something known as loss aversion. Human beings are wired to avoid losing something they once valued. Even if a man believes that breaking up was the right decision, once he begins to feel that he has truly lost you, it can create an overwhelming sense of regret. This is where no contact plays a crucial role. It forces a man to sit with his emotions instead of running from them. As time passes, he starts replaying moments from the relationship in his mind. He remembers the way you made him feel, the little things you did for him, the warmth and security you provided. The good times start to outweigh the bad in his memory, and because you are no longer around, he has no way to re-experience those feelings. The more he reflects, the more he begins to miss what he once had. This reflection process often leads to curiosity. If you have not reached out, he starts to wonder why. He may have expected you to text him, check in, or try to fix things. When you don't, it challenges his assumptions about your feelings. He starts asking himself questions. Has she moved on? Does she not miss me? Was I not as important to her as I thought? These thoughts can be unsettling, especially for a man who was confident that you would always be there. This curiosity is what often drives him to start checking up on you in subtle ways. He may scroll through your social media, looking for any hints about your life without him. He might ask mutual friends if you've been seeing someone new. He could even start liking your posts or viewing your stories just to see if you'll notice. This is his way of indirectly trying to gauge whether he still has a place in your life. But the most powerful moment for a man during no contact is when he realizes that you are genuinely doing fine without him. If he sees that you are happy, thriving, and not desperately waiting for his return, it can have a profound effect on him. Instead of feeling like he still has control over the situation, he now feels a sense of urgency. He starts to wonder if he made a mistake that cannot be undone. Men are naturally competitive, and this instinct comes into play when they start to suspect that they might be replaced. If he gets even the slightest hint that you are moving on, whether it's through your confidence, a subtle glow-up, or the presence of someone new in your life, it can trigger feelings of jealousy and regret. Suddenly, the idea of losing you for good becomes real, and that is often when he feels compelled to reach out. However, not every man reaches out because he genuinely wants to rebuild the relationship. Sometimes, he may just want to check if he still has access to you. This is why it's important to understand his true motives before responding. Some men return because they have genuinely realized your worth, while others come back out of loneliness, boredom, or ego. When a man experiences the emotional roller coaster caused by no contact, he often faces an internal struggle. Part of him wants to maintain his pride and avoid looking weak by reaching out. But another part of him craves the comfort and familiarity that you once provided. This push and pull dynamic can make him hesitant at first, but as time passes, the weight of missing you often overrides his resistance. The longer he stays without you, the more he starts comparing his life before and after the breakup. If his life feels emptier without you, if the excitement of being single has faded, or if other relationships fail to provide the same depth of connection, he begins to truly understand what he lost. This realization often brings about a strong desire to reconnect, even if he doesn't fully understand why he feels that way. No contact works not because it manipulates a man into coming back, but because it gives him the space to realize on his own what he had with you. It forces him to miss you in a way that no amount of chasing or begging ever could. When a woman stays silent and focuses on herself, she not only regains her power, but also creates an environment where a man has to put in real effort if he wants to be part of her life again. Once a man realizes that you are no longer in his life, his thoughts begin to shift from curiosity to genuine regret. The absence you've created through no contact has now transformed into something that affects him on a deeper emotional level. At first, he might have enjoyed his freedom, thinking that moving on would be easy. But as more time passes, he starts to see things differently. He begins to replay memories in his head, conversations you had, the way you laughed, the way you supported him, and how you were always there for him. At this stage, the regret he feels becomes stronger than his pride. Initially, many men try to suppress their feelings, distracting themselves with work, friends, hobbies, or even casual relationships. But distractions don't last forever. Eventually, reality sets in. When a man starts realizing that no one else understands him the way you did, that no one else makes him feel as comfortable or as loved as you did, the weight of his loss starts to sink in. This is the phase where he begins to ask himself, did I make a mistake? He starts wondering whether he truly made the right decision by walking away, or whether he let go of something valuable. The thought of you moving on without him can be unsettling, especially if he believed that you would always be there, waiting. Now, as more time goes by, he's no longer sure. One of the strongest triggers during this phase is the fear of being replaced. If he notices that you are glowing, thriving, and genuinely enjoying your life without him, it can create a deep sense of anxiety. He begins to question whether you were ever as hurt as he thought you would be. He may start looking for signs that you still miss him, but if he finds none, his insecurity grows. Men are naturally competitive, and when they suspect that another man might be entering the picture, their emotions can become even more intense. He may start imagining you laughing at someone else's jokes, having deep conversations with someone new, or forming a bond that he thought was only his to have. This thought alone can make a man feel uneasy and suddenly realize just how much he took for granted. At this point, his regret is no longer just a passing thought. It becomes something that actively bothers him. He might hear a song that reminds him of you, drive past a place you used to go together, or even have dreams about you. These small moments reinforce the idea that you are still in his subconscious, that even though he tried to move on, his emotions are still attached to you. This is when the curiosity he once had turns into action. He might test the waters by liking an old photo, watching your stories, or even messaging you casually with something like, "Hey, how have you been?" He does this not just to check in, but to see if you will respond. He wants to know if you still care, if you still think about him, or if he has lost you for good. For some men, this phase can be incredibly frustrating. If you do not respond to his attempts at reconnecting, his mind starts to race with possibilities. Has she moved on? Is she happier without me? Does she even care anymore? The uncertainty drives him to reflect even more deeply. If he thought he could just move on without looking back, he now realizes that it's not that simple. At this stage, some men will take their first real step toward trying to get you back. They might text you out of nowhere, trying to strike up a conversation as if nothing happened. Some may apologize, admitting that they regret their decision. Others might even try to reminisce about old times, hoping to reopen the emotional connection. However, it's important to be cautious. Just because a man comes back does not necessarily mean he has changed or that he is ready to commit. Some men return simply because they feel lonely, bored, or want validation. They might not actually want a relationship. They just want to see if you are still available. This is why it is crucial to observe his actions rather than just listen to his words. If he truly values you, he will not just send a simple, "Hey, I miss you," text. He will take real steps to show you that he is serious about making things right. He will ask to see you in person, have a real conversation, and take responsibility for his past actions. On the other hand, if he is only returning out of convenience, his actions will show inconsistency. He might text you one day and disappear the next. He might act interested, but then avoid discussing anything serious about the relationship. If this happens, it's a sign that he is not truly ready for something meaningful. No contact is powerful because it allows you to see a man's true intentions. If he really cares about you and realizes he made a mistake, he will put in the effort to prove it. If he only comes back because he feels like he's losing control, he will eventually fade away once he gets a small taste of attention from you. This phase is where your strength is most important. You must ask yourself, do I really want him back, or am I just excited that he returned? Sometimes when a man comes back, it can be tempting to fall right back into old patterns. But if the relationship ended for a valid reason, you must consider whether giving him another chance is truly the best decision for you. When he returns, the power is now in your hands. You are no longer the one waiting, hoping he will come back. Instead, he is the one questioning whether he still has a place in your life. He is the one who must now prove his worth. Men return after no contact because they finally understand what they lost. They realize that you were not just another person. They realize that you brought something special into their lives. But the real question is, do they deserve to have you back? When a man returns after no contact, it is often because he has gone through a series of emotions, relief, distraction, curiosity, regret, and finally realization. At this stage, he is no longer just feeling the absence. He is actively making the choice to reach out and attempt to reconnect. However, his return does not necessarily mean he is ready for something serious, nor does it mean you should immediately take him back. The most important thing to remember is that his return is not the victory. Your decision on how to handle it is. Many women make the mistake of thinking that a man coming back is proof that he has changed. In reality, his return is just the first step. What truly matters is why he is coming back, and how he behaves once he does. Some men return because they genuinely regret losing you and want to build something better. Others return because they feel lonely, bored, or simply want validation. If you are not careful, you might fall into the same cycle that led to the breakup in the first place. Before responding to him, ask yourself, what do I want? Do you want a real, committed relationship? Or are you just excited that he reached out? Sometimes the emotional high of having someone return can make us forget the pain they caused. But true power comes from knowing your worth and making decisions based on what is best for you, not just what feels good in the moment. One of the first things you should do when a man comes back is observe his behavior. Is he consistent? Is he putting in effort? Or is he just testing the waters to see if you're still available? A man who truly values you will not just send a casual, "Hey, I miss you" text and expect everything to go back to normal. He will make real efforts to communicate, spend time with you, and show through his actions that he has changed. Interesting. If he only sends vague messages, avoids serious conversations, or disappears after getting a little attention, then he is likely just trying to feed his ego. Some men return not because they want you, but because they want to make sure you still want them. They want to know that they still have control, that they can still come back whenever they choose. This is why no contact is so powerful. It shifts the control back to you. When he reaches out, you must be clear about your boundaries. If you want a serious relationship, don't settle for breadcrumbs. If he is not making a real effort to rebuild trust and commitment, do not waste your time entertaining him. Many men will try to slip back into your life as if nothing happened, hoping that you will welcome them without asking for accountability. But you are not the same person you were before. You have grown, and he must now prove that he is worthy of your time and attention. At this stage, you must also consider whether you truly want him back. Sometimes, when a man leaves, we spend so much time missing him that we forget to ask ourselves if he was actually good for us. Now that you have had space to heal, reflect on whether he added real value to your life, or if you were simply attached to the idea of him. Were you happy in the relationship? Did he treat you with the love and respect you deserve, or were you constantly feeling anxious, neglected, or unsure about where you stood? If he left once, what makes you believe he won't leave again? Did he take responsibility for his past mistakes? Or is he just hoping you will overlook them? A man who truly values you will acknowledge his faults and make an effort to grow. If he avoids taking responsibility, then he is not ready for a real relationship. Another crucial factor to consider is whether you have genuinely healed. If his return brings back feelings of insecurity, pain, or desperation, then you may not be ready to let him back in. The purpose of no contact is not just to make him miss you. It is to help you gain clarity and emotional strength. If you find yourself immediately falling back into old patterns, take a step back and ask yourself if this is truly what you want. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do when a man returns is to not take him back at all. The truth is, not every man who comes back deserves another chance. If he did not treat you well before, if he did not respect you, if he made you feel like an option rather than a priority, then his return should not be seen as a victory. It should be seen as a test of your growth, your self-worth, and your ability to make choices that serve your happiness. Many women fear that rejecting a man's return means they will lose their last chance at love. But this is not true. The real loss is wasting time on someone who does not value you. A man who truly wants you in his life will prove it through his actions. He will show consistency. He will take responsibility, and he will make an effort to rebuild the trust that was broken. If he is not doing these things, then he does not deserve another chance. If you do decide to give him another opportunity, set clear expectations. Let him know that things cannot just go back to how they were. He must show you that he is serious, that he is willing to grow, and that he truly wants to build a future with you. Watch his actions, not just his words. A man who is truly committed will be patient, understanding, and willing to earn back your trust. At the end of the day, the power is in your hands. He may have returned, but now it is your choice whether to accept him back into your life. You are no longer the person who was left behind, waiting for him to realize your worth. You have grown, you have healed, and now you get to decide what is best for you. If he has truly changed and is ready to commit, he will show it. If he is just coming back for comfort, convenience, or control, you will see through it. Trust yourself, trust your growth, and remember that you deserve a love that is real, consistent, and worthy of you.